If you're going through some tough times or you have some problems, one thing that may help is realizing that your problems are very trivial in terms of things people have gone through in the past, people are going through now, and in comparison to the real issues that people are tackling these days. People working in charity, working through uh, all these issues to help others, and realize that no matter what small thing you want, sometimes it's very materialistic and superficial, and uh, whether it's hey, I want this car, or man, I wish I had more money, or man, I wish I was more famous or popular, or had this or that, or had this type of women, or whatever. you know People are putting that aside, or maybe they even have that, and they're choosing to use the money and power and status and fame and whatever they have sometimes, and they're using that to create tremendous change and help those in need and those who are uh, much worse off than you will ever be. Most likely, if you're watching this video, you have lucked out in a lot of ways. Your life is not perfect. You've probably had some bad times as well. Maybe a screwed up childhood, maybe something else. But in a lot of ways, if you're watching this video right now, you've probably lucked out in a lot of ways economically, and maybe politically, maybe a variety of other ways. And you, it's also cool to realize that everyone goes through struggles. Everyone goes through potential pitfalls. They've gone through horrific childhoods, bad upbringings. Even the people who seem to have perfect lives, in reality, they could be hiding a lot of stuff. And perhaps there are people who have lucked out a lot. But even them, that in certain ways is not really lucky, because discomfort and pain often bring um, certain levels of hunger, work ethic, drive that push that person to even greater results. So again, for you yourself, just realize that there are people who have gone through a lot worse stuff. Maybe your life is not as bad as it seems. There are people who've gone through horrific lives, concentration camps, being thrown into torture chambers, or just captured by the enemy and thrown into these prisons. And there's this one man, I forgot his name, but he has this book about how he persevered, and there's almost no end to it. And many people who were also captured died out because they're, for whatever reason, some were overly optimistic, and they say, by next spring, by next winter, by the next summer, we'll get out for sure. We'll escape. We'll return home to our families. But he just kept at it. He just knew, one day I'll get out. I don't know when, but I will. And he's persevered for like 7 to 9 years. When he finally got out and got back home to his family and escaped a prison camp. And perhaps your life is not as bad as it thinks. Are you a Jew in a concentration camp, starved to death, eventually gassed, and then cremated? I mean, there's so many horrific things, and one great thing is to just every day remind yourself of what you should be thankful for. And your problems can end up being trivial. Another thing is to realize that in the future, um, more important problems will come about, and these things may be things like your child being born, and for whatever reason, it's a scary thing, but these things can happen. Your child is not perfect. He's genetically flawed in some way, an illness or deficiency, or uh, your children die, or there's an unexpected accident and your family gets hurt or dies. Your husband, your children, whatever. These things happen, and I see it all around. And so there's a lot to be grateful for and blessed about. And If you can remember that, and if you can remember that there are people doing great things out there, out of their own life because they can, rather than just party it up. There are those people too, but realize this, and it can bring about a more wholesome um, understanding of life. And again, enjoy life while you can, of course, but realize that there's some great people out there. Also, remember to work hard, um, and try and be ethical. And so that's the general thing I want to say. And I guess the final thing I want to say is to realize that, you know, just realize you are an awesome individual, and you may have much more control over your life than you think at this very moment. You could, and it will not happen overnight, but you can choose what type of person you want to be, who you want to be, what you want to do, and your lifestyle to a certain extent, and start working towards that. You potentially have much more opportunity and freedom to control your life than you think right now. So work on it. So that's everything I want to say in a nutshell. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video.